Welcome, everybody. It is Monday night, and this is In the Batter's Box. It is the NGSC Sports Baseball Show. That's MLB Baseball, MILB Baseball, college baseball, college softball, women's baseball, little kids baseball, European baseball, 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 baseball. And of course, the website is. Do you believe, John? Can you believe, John? I don't have the website up. Could you tell me why I wouldn't have the website up? And of course, you know the website is ngscsports.com, where you catch all of your current content. The football season has come to a close. Again, congratulations, not to the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. If football season is over, it's our favorite time of the year on the show because that means it's baseball season. Again, at the website, catch all of that and more, of course, on NGSCsports.com, where we never stop. I'm with my co-host today, as always. He is the host of the Enhanced Sports Show. Saturdays, 4 to 6 p.m. It's a good thing that we're on Monday, so I can tell you ahead of time. It's cold outside. People need things to do. And Louis' show happened to be one of those shows that, I don't know, people just want to hang out. So, again, Saturdays 4 to 6 p.m. It is the Enhanced Sports Show. He is the co-host of In the Batter's Box. Our dear friend, his only fault is that he is a Yankee fan. Louis Tenoy. Louis!
Ralph. How you doing?
Louis, did the Yankees lose last night?
It's hard to tell. I mean, they didn't play. I mean, not to my knowledge. So I guess
that's right. Baseball hasn't started yet.
That's your question, of course.
Louis, I don't know. I can hope and wish, right? Of course, you guys know. Can't do this by myself. Won't do it by myself. He won't let me do it alone. Thank God he doesn't let me do it alone. My partner, my dear friend, more importantly, right here, the co-host of In the Batter's Box, Mr. John Doucette. John, year 9, another episode.
As always, good to be with you.
Well, you're 8 for me.
You're 8 for you. Damn, you've been around for a while. You know that? Oh. I just realized, guys, I can't believe Sammy Sportface hasn't said anything to me. I posted his article without a picture.
Interesting.
Oops. Oh, wow. I'll fix it now. Okay, so we're talking baseball.
Yes.
We'll end the show with college baseball. John, of course, we are in the midst of pitchers and catchers reporting and baseball getting ready to get started underway. And the big thing in the offseason, John, of course, is the signing. By the way, I see that the Angels are now moving Mike Trout from center field to right field. Thank you. The guy's getting a little bit older. But, yeah, John, Major League Baseball season is coming upon us. There's still some free agents left. What's the movement looking like to you there?
Well, it does look like that some deals have been done. I mean, certainly the Red Sox look like they picked up their guy with Alex Bregman over the weekend, the 3-year, $120 million deal with a couple of opt-out clauses. Looks like he's going to play second base now that full workouts began, which did for the first time today. So it looks like their starting lineup and probably their 25-man roster has been completed.
The question has been, of course, in the off season, obviously, where Bregman would go. I'm not sure that I saw. Did we talk about Boston being one of the possibilities, John?
Yeah, we did. I think that the best thing about this is it certainly helps their infield defense, which the past couple of years has not been very good. And again, with a starting rotation that has added a guy like Walker Buehler and Garrett Crochet, you're going to need some infield defense that's going to be improved. And it looks like the Red Sox have done that. Now, they still need a full season out of Trevor Story, absolutely, at shortstop. But if they can keep him healthy to go along with Bregman up the middle, this infield defense has, I think, gotten a whole lot better.
Now, John, would Devers over in the hot spot there, in the hot corner, I assume the Red Sox haven't even determined where Bregman's going to play.
I think it's going to be second base. I think that's where he's going to be. That there's a need there, and I think he can fill that need in the short term until the big three of the minor league prospects become ready. And I think providing them with an opportunity of one more year of minor league baseball is probably a good thing. And I think the transition becomes a lot smoother once those guys are deemed ready.
And Bregman can still produce. I think he's going to go for his third or fourth straight season of a WAR of 4 or better. So I like the signing for the Red Sox. Louis, they didn't get him. They got him at the right time. The guy still got plenty of baseball left. And I know, Louis, what a big Red Sox fan you are.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure.
No. I think it was a good signing. I think it was a good signing. And Bregman, by the way, I think Bregman mentioned something about how good he felt, how good the Red Sox made him feel, John.
Well, he apparently got a call from Dustin Pedroia. That certainly helped to convince him that this was a good idea. And I think that the Red Sox got him for the right price, the 3-year 120 as opposed to a 5 or 6 year deal, which is what he was looking for from other teams. So with the opt out clauses that are involved in this contract, I mean, if he can help the Red Sox get to the playoffs this year, I think the Red Sox would be more than happy to provide him with the opportunity to decide what his next move could be, whether he wanted to stay and finish out the contract or whether he wants to try free agency again in November.
And I'll bring up a free agency signing. Beat the Mets.
The Mets.
Come on out and greet the Mets. Bring the kiddies, have some fun. Yeah. Petey's back in town. Listen,
Right.
obviously, I was just full of glee when that happened. Alonso himself interviewed after the contract was signed, speaking of how happy he is, how much he wanted to be in New York, didn't want to leave New York. And the Mets come through, John. What was that deal I'm looking for? 2-year, $54 million deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal, and I do think what the Mets are trying to create is the same thing the Yankees had last year. You're trying to create, it was Soto and Judge last year, so this time it's going to be Soto and Alonso, and hopefully the Mets can create the same kind of not only interest but production that the Yankees got last year from their dynamic duo.
And speaking of the New York Mets, on July 19th, David Wright will enter the Mets Hall of Fame. Deservedly so. Hey, Louis, what's going on in the Bronx?
Yeah, not too much. There's a few deals trying to get through, but nothing really major right now on the Yankee front.
Nothing I have to worry about.
With the Yankees would be the Marcus Stroman situation, is whether or not he's going to cooperate with that team or not. They asked him if he'd be interested in being a closer, and he said no. And so we'll see where that goes. Whether he again wants to cooperate or not. And I think the other interesting thing is the
Stan's got a problem too.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting thing is the shave, the facial hair being taken off some players, as is normally the case with the Yankees when they bring in new players, that they confide with the dress code. It appears that everybody's done that too. So, but the Stroman thing I think is very interesting. If he really is insistent on being a starter and not a closer, it could be a problem for the Mets for the Yankees rather, because it appears that their rotation is pretty much taken care of.
And Louis, I don't get it, because the Yankees are, if not one of, they are the most consistent organization when it comes to rules, when it comes to enforcing rules, when it comes to making decisions. And I kind of wonder, Louis, to me, it's kind of dumb when a player is going to go play in New York and he wants to make the terms. You don't make terms when you go to play the Yankees.
Obviously, you don't. Yeah, what's worse is one former player going to your crosstown rival. Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't understand, John. I hear that talk supposedly are heating up with Toronto and Vlad Jr.
Yeah, I think that again, I think the Blue Jays have to make a decision here, whether he's going to be a part of their future, or whether he's going to be used as trade bait when July comes. I think it's very interesting now that you have a three-team race in the East between the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, and now you've got two teams in the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays that have decisions to make. And if Toronto has decided that Vlad is a part of their future, then signing him to some sort of a long-term deal would be the wisest thing to do. And then you got to decide what you're going to do with Bo Bichette and eventually with Biggio. But at least if you begin the process with Vlad, at least it signals that maybe they're interested in trying to give those three guys an extended opportunity to put this team back in first division position.
Hey, Louis, I'm going to go back to the Yankees because I'm trying
Yeah.
I'm going to share the show as we're talking. But Giancarlo Stanton, remember your boy who can't stay healthy. So now he's been nursing this soreness in his elbows.
Both elbows.
Both of them for quite some time. Now the Yankees are talking about slow playing him this spring, which again, you don't have a problem with that. When you have your big stars, you can slow play your stars. But again, he's such an important piece to the Yankees, Louis. And man, the one thing we can count on with Giancarlo is he's going to be hurt.
Yeah, I mean, as good as he is, when producing home runs and hits, he's still like such an injury prone player, and that's always been a problem with him.
It's a lot of money. You're right. It's a lot of money, John. These guys like him that make all this money. This guy can't stay healthy.
He never could.
He just has a body that unfortunately doesn't provide for that opportunity to exist. And let's face it, with Soto now being on the other side of the city, they're going to need Stanton to take some of that production that Soto was providing them and help Judge out. So you're going to need him to be effective and be available to them for as much of the season as you could possibly get out of him. And so if he's got sore elbows that may need some sort of fixing, now would be the time to do it before things really potentially get out of hand.
It's just right. And you think that by now somebody would have figured this stuff out, because if it isn't this guy's elbows now, it's his ankles, it's his hammy, it's just constantly. Help me out, guys. When was the last full productive season we've gotten out of Stanton?
Oh, I don't think he's given the Yankees a full productive year since he's been there.
No, not at all.
And he got signed to what kind of contract?
Well, that was a contract that the Yankees bought when they traded for him when he was in Miami. So the contract wasn't necessarily their doing, but they have, paid it out in full as they were supposed to, and it's had its moments of good and bad, no question.
I mean, it has been such a rough go. I mean, and again, Louis, for the Yankee fans, the Yankee base gets frustrated because you got a bomb like this guy, a bona fide baseball player. It's going to be interesting to see how the Yankees.
I don't see how he's lasted so long, though, despite being injured. He would hang up a long time ago.
Well, the money is the reason why you hang around.
Yeah, but when you're not healthy,
It's always the reason why you hang around, John, right? It's always the reason. Then let me go back to what I mentioned earlier. So, John, Mike Trout's going right.
And I think the Angels are trying to save the wear and tear. And I think that getting him out of the middle of the outfield is probably a wise idea. I don't think he's got the foot speed to be able to cover both gaps anymore. And so putting him in a corner outfield position, I think will give him the opportunity to basically play more games for them, because they really do need more games out of him based on the Anthony Rendon situation and the fact that he now needs hip surgery and is probably done with the Angels. I mean, that was just a disastrous free agent signing that the Angels made with him based on the World Series that he won with the Nationals, and that's wasted money that unfortunately they can't recoup in any way, shape, or form. And it's unfortunate that Rendon really has conned the Angels to some extent into what he eventually got from them.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any. Are there any other names out there left, John? I don't think there's any really big
Not
names.
really any names out there left. I mean, there's still some free agents out there that need to be taken care of, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. It was interesting that the San Diego Padres took Nick Pivetta and gave him a 5-year, $55 million deal. That was interesting. Pivetta was certainly a serviceable pitcher for the Red Sox, both in the bullpen and in the starting rotation. I would think he'd get that kind of a role in San Diego, but you would think that the Padres rotation has already been pretty well set. And so I would think that Pivetta is basically a bullpen guy. That's an awful lot of money to spend to put somebody in the bullpen.
And once again, Clayton Kershaw is coming back for more.
And I would think for Kershaw it's just going to be half season. Nothing more than that. The other interesting thing with the Dodgers is the fact that they're talking about potentially May for Ohtani to make his first appearance on the mound for that team.
Too, yeah.
And if that is the case, this team just continues to get loaded and loaded and loaded some more. You just wonder when it stops.
Well, we're going to have to figure something out here. We may have to have an alternative subject to talk about by July. Look, John.
It's just amazing. On paper, this team is so stacked.
It doesn't. Listen, if I handed you this roster without you knowing anything that's happened, John, in your baseball mind, if I walked in your door and handed you this roster, you would look at me and say, "That's really nice." Obviously, it's not an actual roster, but yeah, that would be a pretty decent roster if somebody could put it together. It is incredible what it's mind-boggling what they've been able to do, how they've been able to do it. But I'm getting to something. I know that we know most of the baseball fans, baseball experts, you got to worry about, oh God, it's just going to be one of these seasons where we probably shouldn't have watched. Yeah, okay, we're going to worry about that. But on the other side of the coin, because we didn't talk about that when I was just bashing it when we talked about it last show. It is, first of all, they better win. They better win. This is not, it's something, John, because this is not one of those scenes where you say, hey, I think we're built to win. I think we can make a serious run. You guys got 14 Mack trucks in one roster, man. You better win 135 games, and you better sweep every series. And you know something, John? Louis, I thought about it, and I said, I'm kind of looking forward to some of this, just to see how dominant they can actually be. Right, Louis? We joke, Louis, all the time. We joke about who could beat the Dodgers, Los Angeles Dodgers. This is the perfect year for us to say that, Louis.
It is. It looks that way.
Because, and then, John, if this roster, remember we talked, if this roster that I'm going to say this again, just blows my mind. If each one of these guys just has an average year, if they all live up to an average year.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
That's a scary baseball team, John.
Now, I think the other thing that's interesting here is look at the two winter sports, the NBA and the NHL. Their ratings are starting to drop, and in some cases drop rather significantly. I think if there's the one problem with this, with having one super dominant team potentially, and then everybody else, is that the same thing may happen to Major League Baseball over the summer. That the ratings drop because nobody's going to be interested in watching one great team and then everybody else.
Well, one thing we don't have to worry about, Louis. Louis is going to watch the Yankees, even if they're getting boat raced. He's going to watch them. So,
yes.
But no, you're right, John. I didn't think about that. because right now my daughter and my grandson showed up yesterday, and my grandson's like, "Hey, you check out any of All-Star Weekend, Papa?" I said, "All-Star Weekend who?" He said, "NBA All-Star Weekend." I didn't even know it was NBA All-Star Weekend. I won't lie to you. I'm so sorry that we have a sports business, John, and I didn't even know that it was NBA. That's how bad
You
it's.
didn't miss much.
Did you watch it, Louis?
I did see some of it, yes.
Okay, I didn't, and I
Well,
wasn't.
I didn't care either.
No.
And the
And
new format didn't really make sense.
when I turned the TV on this morning to sports, so I can catch up on my sports, holy moly, did they blast that NBA All Star Weekend to Kingdom Come? Here,
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith came up with a good idea, and I came up with another one. The one I came up with is no Stephen A. Smith, because that's for competition. How about all European NBA players versus USA players?
Well, that's what the NHL is doing with that Four Nation tournament. That's exactly what that is.
Because I guarantee you that those international players aren't going to All Star Weekend to BS, play around, and showboat.
No.
They're going to go on that court to show the Americans how good they are. That will force the American, and it'll force us to have a good All Star game. Here's another one that my thought, that would bring ratings out of the rooftops. And that first suggestion would bring ratings too. John Louis, NBA slash WNBA Eastern Conference versus WNBA slash WNBA Western Conference All Stars.
I like it. I like it.
The idea of men playing against women.
No.
Uh,
Same team. So the Eastern Conference All Stars would be represented by half of the NBA Eastern Conference All Stars and half or a percentage, whatever, of the women of the WNBA from they'll play together. So each team would have men and women on the team.
That's what I mean. Men playing against women, I think, would be an issue that some people would have.
Oh, they'll have an issue, John. They'll have a big issue with that. But I bet guarantee that's going to be a ratings buster.
I'm not buying that there.
Louis? No, Louis? What do you think, Louis?
I think it would. I mean, yeah, it's going to be controversial, but that's going to make it more interesting.
I don't know. I just think it would be. I don't know, John. I get where you're going, John. I get where you're going. I just think that with the popularity of women's sports growing so big,
yes,
that it would be intriguing.
One mistake for the popularity to go poof, and I think that's
that could become a problem, even with a soft hip check.
Right. And that's what you want to avoid here. You're trying. If women's sports are really starting to make a inroad in this country, the last thing you want to do is put it in a position where it has to explain itself into something that frankly is unexplainable.
And also, in a position where it could fail.
Right.
You certainly don't want nothing like that. All right.
The European thing is a much better idea because you could recreate what the NHL is doing right now with the Four Nation thing.
They have to do something. They have to do something. Anyway, it's not an NBA show. I'll get with Jordan and we'll talk about it on the NBA show. But baseball it's coming around. It's almost time. February 20th is 3 days from now. The Chicago Cubs and the Los Angeles Dodgers will play baseball.
Right. And they'll be the first two teams, by the way, that break camp because they're going to Japan. So their spring trainings in Arizona are going to be shorter than everybody else's because of that. But come February 20th, we start playing exhibition games.
And then, of course, the following day, Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees go at it. So baseball's back, folks. So let's enjoy baseball. I'm going to be interested to see, John, how the situation plays out for the Oakland A's in their little corner of the world ballpark that they're going to play in for now.
I wonder what that ballpark looks like. I mean, the last time we saw pictures of that park back in October, it didn't look all that promising. So I wonder what it looks like now.
And they've been working on it, which we knew they would have to work on it. Yeah, it's not a major league ballpark, but you got to get it major league ready. And I'm just interested to see how they're going to draw, because if you move them out of Oakland and they keep having 15 people to show up to a baseball game,
Yeah, you got a lot of problems.
Yeah. 15.
another reason to have something else to talk about on this show.
Well, let's face it, you are talking about the capital city in California, in Sacramento. So you would think that the people up there would be in Northern California would be interested in this. But still, if there's still enough anger within the fan base of the Oakland A's that the team has left and now is in Sacramento, that could be the reason why this doesn't work. But we'll see if the anger from that fan base has subsided enough to allow this to at least have a chance to work in the short term.
And hopefully, of course, in by June or July, around there, I'm not coming on the air starting the show saying, "Welcome everybody, this is In the Battle Box, the NGSC Sports Baseball Show." I'm your host, this is the colorful Louis Tenor, John Doucette, and we have nothing to talk about.
But here's something about the Oakland situation that I think is even more interesting. Let's say they do play well, and let's say they're even in wild card contention when we get to, say, the 4th of July. That ballpark may not be big enough to hold the fan base that now wants to show up.
No, Oakland can't win now. I mean, yeah, they can, but yeah, absolutely. There's no way that place is going to hold. No.
So then what do they do?
Because you know that part of the reason that they made the deal to play there is because they knew they could play there and didn't have to worry about it. At least the assumption was, we don't have anybody coming to our game, so if we fill this place up, hell, that's a whole lot more than we were getting in the fun. So we're great. But nobody's, and you're right, that's a good one, John. Nobody's anticipating what happens if the A's. Yeah, that's a good one, John. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Standing room only.
Interesting, standing room only. And what would they charge? And I think the other thing is, what are the ticket prices for the games in Sacramento? If they're charging Major League Baseball price, which I'm assuming they are, is that going to keep people away too?
Yeah, that's another good one, John, because you have to think along the lines of, okay, we can't charge minor league prices. We're a Major League Baseball team. But also have to take into account that we're playing in this small park in a small market that houses minor league or whatever, not major league. You can't just go out there and say, well, those $85 tickets are now $90, because that's going to be the quickest way. Listen, that fan base is already turned off as it is.
I agree.
Yeah, don't turn them off anymore. Don't turn them off anymore. It's going to be interesting. I'm also interested.
The other interesting situation is Tampa Bay. Now that they'll have to play in Steinbrenner Stadium for the upcoming season, based on what happened back in the fall with the hurricane, and how they set that ballpark up to house them for at least this year, if not even longer than that. And what does this do to a stadium deal that appears to be falling apart again?
Brad, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, John, because Brad this weekend wrote up a couple of pieces, and one of them was particular. It's really curious. That's why I wanted to get to it. Now that you brought it up here, where are we at here? He brings up some good points, is what I'm going to get to. Here we go, right here. Rays baseball. Could this be the end of the Rays? But here's what he brings up that was really interesting to me. He says this all started, of course, when Hurricane Milton destroyed Tropicana, with Hurricane Milton destroying Tropicana Field. Current owner Stu Sternberg and executives Brad Auld and Matt Silverman continue to point the finger at the city. City Commissioner Chris Latvala was against the deal to start with, but he changed his mind and approved the bonds for the deal. Now, one of the things that they say that they're upset about is because it will cost, let me see, it says here, that the owners, okay, they didn't want Sternberg, the owner, to still be making money from the land deal that Tropicana Field if you're going to another stadium. So there's a lot of contention going on in the inner workings of this. And this is going to get real interesting because from what I'm hearing from Brad, I wish we had him here. I should have thought about that. From what I'm hearing from Brad, from what he's getting from the inside, it's as if the people are wondering if the city of Tampa even wants this team anymore.
Well, I would think that, again, and I don't know where the cleanup is in terms of how much cleanup they've actually done since the hurricane has took place. I would assume that the city of Tampa is in much better shape now than it was back in.
Yeah. Bradley says they're hoping for 2026.
Well, that's not bad. Then that means that the roof is being taken care of by, if not city money, then it's being taken care of by federal money.
Okay, so this is where it is. He says that many believe that Sternberg doesn't want to play in St. Petersburg. He was hoping that the city wouldn't approve the new stadium. So again, a lot of this back and forth going inside.
Well, I know that the city of Montreal has also been brought up again, and that there are some people, particularly north of the border, that would be interested in the idea of revisiting a Major League Baseball team and bringing this one to Montreal and have two franchises back in Canada again.
Speaking of new teams, thank you for reminding me, John. Congratulations to the city of Cleveland, as they will reach deep into the well and bring back one of the original WNBA franchises. The Cleveland Rockers are back. WNBA is going to choose one or two more teams, and you better believe that in this beautiful state of Tennessee, I'm crossing every finger, I'm dotting every I, I'm crossing my eyes, and I'm hoping and praying that the city of Nashville gets a WNBA team. Because, John, when you can't find me, it's because I'm at the game.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Last but not least in baseball, you know what I'm really curious about, guys? Remember what we saw last year, right? We saw the usual suspects make the playoff run, make the playoffs. But there's always a one or two teams, right? Every baseball season, you want to find out who's the team that's going to make some noise that we weren't expecting. Guys, remember how much we joke about the AL and NL Central on this show.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Guys, remember what we got last year? Cleveland Indians, they were expecting that they should make the Kansas City Royals, the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see, John, the next step in this evolution for those two teams.
Well, I think for the Kansas City Royals, one of the things that they did last year was they made some very smart short-term free agent signings that really did pan out for them and allowed them to make the eventual run that led them to getting to the playoffs. In the Tiger case, let's face it, when we got to Labor Day weekend, that team didn't look like it was going to get anywhere, but they made quite a run in the month of September that really did vault them into the wild card picture and eventually gave them the chance to not only play in the playoffs but win a series before they finally got eliminated by the Indians. I mean, both of those organizations certainly do have some continued growth to have here. But again, you're right. It'll be interesting to see how both of those teams react to not being able to sneak up on anybody anymore. How they'll be able to handle that. I mean, the American League Central is still, I think, a very good division with four pretty good teams. And I wouldn't count out the Minnesota Twins, despite their fading in the month of September last year. I still think that those four teams will fight it out. And again, with what the Red Sox did with Bregman, puts them back into the wild card mix as well. And so now you've got 4, maybe 5, 6 teams, and all of a sudden they're interested and have rosters that are good enough if they can stay healthy to make a pretty interesting wild card run, which could make the American League a bit more interesting than, say, the National League.
Yes.
We better hope for something interesting. Yeah. We better hope for interesting in the American League. We may not get any interesting in the National League. Just again, it's going to be interesting to see how in the American League, like you said, we'll see what the Tigers do. We'll see what the Royals do. Can the Yankees or is the addition of Bregman? What's it going to do for the Red Sox? All those questions. There's no questions in the National League.
And what about the White Sox? Are they going to have another disastrous year?
Well, I think they will. I think they will. But I think for the White Sox, it really is all about rebuilding the entire ship. And the only way to rebuild the entire ship is to hit rock bottom, which is what they've done. And so now they have to go ahead and rebuild this thing really from the bottom up. It's going to take time, no question. But hopefully it eventually works out the same way it did in Baltimore and works out the same way it did for the most part in Kansas City too. And so that although it's going to take probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, eventually they'll get to where they want to be. They're going to have to be very smart with their draft. They're going to have to be very smart with whatever free agent signings they make, and they're going to have to be much better at developing players.
Much better. Much better, Louis.
Exactly, because I think it's going to take at least 5 years.
Oh, at least 5 years, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
All right, so I can't believe that I had done this. I'm really thinking this lately. I don't know why. We had an intro, then we have Major League Baseball. I'm doing this on every show now. And we will close out tonight, of course, as we usually do with college baseball. John, tell me some stories.
Well, it's good to see that college baseball is back. The college baseball season began. The first weekend just ended, and that is certainly good news. Although the storm that hit along the Northeast that started in the Mid-Atlantic states and the southern part of the country, southern part of the Eastern Seaboard, did cause some cancellations on Sunday for some teams, but it's good to see that the game is back on the field and that it's onward and upward for college baseball. A couple of interesting things for me was that Arizona, the 22nd ranked team in the country, was beaten by Holy Cross on Sunday, and it's the second straight year that the Crusaders have beaten a top 25 team to open the season. And certainly the wildest of all the games that were played over the weekend was Rhode Island against William and Mary, a game that the Rhode Island Rams won by a 36-22 score. If you look at the box score and you look at the line score of that game, it's pretty amazing. That was only a 7-inning game.
Was that a baseball game or a football game?
That was a bit of football game, really. But if you look at the box score of that game and the line score of that game, it's pretty amazing to see how much offensive damage was done in a game that only took 7 innings to play.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot of runs. It's good, buddy.
That's a lot of pitches to go through, too. And I think that for both teams, that may have contributed to the fact that it only went 7 innings. I think they both just ran out of arms.
And I found it here. There was a game in Phoenix, Arizona, John, yesterday between UC Irvine and Vanderbilt. What a game it was. I mean, it was 9-8, and Vanderbilt ends up winning 9-8. But it was just one of the most thrilling games I had seen in quite some time in college baseball. So I had to bring that one up. And Vanderbilt, of course, expected to be one of those teams like usual. But I'm trying to get to the rankings, John, to see where we are in baseball. And I seem to be having, because you're on the wrong page, Rob. That would be a lot of reading. So when I look here, Texas A&M comes in and stays number one in the country. Virginia stays at number two. LSU number three. So basically, we have no change. 135, 10. We don't really have much change in the top 20. Cincinnati's in the rankings for I think it's the first time in their history.
Yes. The Bearcats are ranked, and that's a significant thing for, again, mid-majors that are trying to make inroads into not only polls but eventually the field of 64 when we get to May. Yeah, the Cincinnati Bearcats being ranked is a pretty significant story. And again, with the weather being the way it is on the Eastern Seaboard and even in the middle part of the country, it could be a challenge for some of these teams to eventually play home games. Hopefully that does not end up being the case, but it could. And for the Bearcats to be ranked in the top 25, at least after the first weekend, is pretty damn significant.
And here, home in Tennessee. What is this? I must have something with me. I got a video playing. I'm glad you guys can't hear it. Tennessee played Hofstra, not a team that they were worried about. They swept Hofstra, but they put up 15 runs, 18 runs, and then 13 runs. A long weekend for little Hofstra, John.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, again, for the programs up here, getting outside has been a challenge. And for a lot of the teams up here in the Northeast and Eastern Seaboard, they have not been able to get outside. And so I would assume that when Hofstra got to Tennessee, that would have been the first time that they would have had the opportunity to play outside, and it probably showed in the way they played, and ended up playing a team that, frankly, is a top 5, maybe top 10 team for sure. That's going to be what you're going to see in the first couple of weekends of the season, is teams finally getting outside for the very first time or second time, and just being able to survive until their weather flips in a lot of cases.
And Florida, John, Florida team, we saw what happened last year. Florida, Texas, teams that we're used to seeing, play with the big boys. Florida was able to maintain themselves in the top 10 playing good baseball. Florida State is there as well. One of my favorites, John, we've been talking about for quite some time. This team's not leaving the top 25. They've been there around, John. Dallas Baptist apparently has built themselves a pretty good program.
Well, again, and let's face it, the money that the Dallas Baptist program makes does basically fund that entire athletic program, which is a pretty amazing thing. They don't get the leftovers anymore. I mean, they were able to recruit rather well in that area, and consequently can put good teams on the field based on that.
Because they came on the scene here a few years back when we saw them ranked and a pretty good baseball team. I was expecting that to just last, like a fad, to just last for a little while, but no.
Yeah.
No.
I think the Dallas Baptist, I think the one thing you have to say about that program is they run that program like a business. They don't necessarily run it like the majority of programs across the country do. They do run that like a business because they need the money to basically generate the rest of the programs and keep them alive. And so their approach to doing things, for the most part, is going to be a lot different than what other programs do.
Hey John, let me say his name right. Jack Caglianone, the real thing.
Yeah, he is. And, he wants to be a two-way player. And I think that, when the Cleveland Guardians were interested in him, they really wanted to basically have him more as a pitcher than as a hitter, because they thought that his growth as a professional baseball player was basically in that particular area. But he wants to do what Ohtani's doing, pitch and DH. And the Guardians have really tried very, very hard to convince him that's not a great idea.
John, I told my wife she's retiring in a few months. We'll start traveling. And I told her, listen, there's one place that I want to go. I don't know if you want to go with me, and I really don't care if you don't. But I want to go to Omaha, Nebraska.
I'll tell you
College
what,
World Series.
if you want to go to the College World Series, that's usually something you've got to plan a year in advance
Yeah.
because
At
how
least.
popular that thing has become, and it's more than just a tourist attraction now for really anybody and everybody. But if that's something you really want to do, that's something you've got to plan a year in advance.
That's
Oh,
something. That's something I really want to do, John.
I mean, it's a tremendous event. I mean, the city of Omaha has really embraced that thing. TD Ameritrade is a great ballpark, and the entire city really does a terrific job with running that event for the 2 weeks that it's there, and they make a ton of money off it, as you would expect. But again, if you want to go to that thing, that's something that you've got to plan
be
a year.
prepared.
Yeah, you really do.
Uh, I'm going to be prepared because at some point here in the near future, I'm going to Omaha, Nebraska to the College World Series. I'd be damned. My wife's going to be retired. I can work from anywhere in the world. Hey, I'll be at the ballpark with my computer working on the clock.
If you have a good connection,
I
yeah.
think the thing is the hotel space and how quickly those hotel rooms are taken up. And of course, there are some hotels that are put aside for the 18s that end up getting there. So, hotel space would be, I think, the one challenge that you'd probably end up having to deal with.
Hey, I'm easy, John. I'll sleep in my car.
Well, you really don't want you doing that, but if you had to, I suppose.
Hey, God,
Right.
that's why I
Either
bought.
that, you rent a.
I did it in. That's
Well,
why. That's why I got this luxury car, my friend. It's got heated seats, cooled seats, got everything I need in there. Only thing it doesn't have is a bathroom. All I got to do is open the door and leave that.
Jeez, really.
well, you can't win them all.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, you know how it works, boys. Looking forward to the college baseball season. Of course, we'll continue to talk about all the happening here in college baseball. That's just so much more fun than Major League Baseball for me. It's just
Yeah.
college baseball is just so much fun. All the love. I heard it about the NBA players, but it makes me think this way about all professional players. It's almost these days, it's like these athletes use their league as a bank. It's more important that the check gets deposited every month as opposed to the game. But oh well. Louis,
Well,
about that time.
that does make an interesting point because while the professional players always want to look for the quickest buck, the college players, they're doing it for the main reason, for the heart, for the love of it, and that's what college has over the pros. That's what's been missing in the pros. They gotta think about the love first, and then the money, not the other way around. Things have. Yeah, I think the '80s started as the greed era, and unfortunately, we haven't got out of that since then. That's what started the whole thing in the '80s. Major league contracts, everything skyrocketing, advertising, and etc. So they're forgetting about the love of the game. More than just their bank account. We gotta get back to showing
It's it's
players
it's a
what they
great
play the game.
yeah, it's a great thought, Louis, because even back in the days when Catfish Hunter was signing that big contract, or and whoever else in any other sport that was signing these contracts, they were big for that day, but there wasn't an abundance of these
No,
contracts, and they weren't astronomically ridiculous like they are now.
no,
Like I rather the owners keep the money then. I just, John, I just don't find value in paying, even as great as Otani is. I can't give the guy $750 million. It's just insane.
Well,
Insane.
but you're making it back, and that's the thing. I mean, the Dodgers are making it back the merchandising not only in this country but also in Japan itself, and so them paying him $750,000, whatever it is, even in deferred payments, they're still going to make the money back.
Yeah, they know they are. Louis, final thoughts.
well, my final thought is that we don't. I mean, I know how much you follow college baseball, but over here, right in the Northeast, where it's going to be freezing till about April. We just don't seem to get too much involved in it. I'm sorry to say it's a sad state for it, but in the South and the West, that's where it is. But here, it's barely on the radar detector.
He's right. It is under the radar up here, and the weather certainly is a large reason why it is that way.
Yeah,
And it's been a bad winter up here, unfortunately, and
you can
that's
say
what
that.
contribute to potentially some decisions that some teams up here in the Northeast may have to make if their fields aren't ready for when their home openers are scheduled for, which is usually right after St. Patrick's Day. So we're not talking about a lot of time for the snow and the ice that is certainly started to mount up around here to go away. And
Yeah,
hopefully
you wonder if they're going to throw baseballs or snowballs.
and more importantly than that is they've got to find alternatives to potentially play these games, alternative sites, which unfortunately will cost money if it means travel. And so that's the thing about college baseball that is the disadvantage. You have certain sections of the country where weather is not an issue. You have other sections of the country where it's always going to be an issue.
Always the
If that's
issue.
the case, you don't have the balance of the sport that you would like to see.
Very true, John. Very true.
Yeah.
Pretty much stinks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, John.
Well, everything has gotten started, and that's certainly a good thing. And so now we need to see how these teams are going to get started. I mean, exhibition games begin by the middle of the week, and certainly by the weekend, everybody's going to be playing their first exhibition games, and so that's always a good thing. But for some teams, camps are going to be short, based on teams making trips to Japan to play opening the season. But nevertheless, it's a good sign that spring is not far away, with spring training now officially opened and exhibition games about to be played.
And get this. Opening day is the day after my birthday.
Yeah, it's not far away. It really isn't, and
No.
that's why things are going to get ramped up rather quickly here to get things rolling.
My final thoughts go back to the Oakland baseball team. This is the aftermath of the team now not playing in Oakland. I've taken not a lot of time, but I've taken enough time to, ask questions, read comments, hear people, the fans, and how they feel and how they felt, how much it hurt. But it happens, relocation happens. Sometimes in cities it doesn't work out, or you just, and Vegas is the hot thing now. They got a hockey team over there, they got a football team over there, and they got a baseball team coming over there. But like I said earlier, I'm interested to see how this plays out, where the A's are now, because regardless of how good or how bad you are, again, you deserve a fan base that supports you. You deserve a fan base that comes out. I mean, I'm not saying 50,000 of you got to come out every game, but man, we saw some abysmal attendance.
Well, I think if you're going to go that route, then they abandon the fan base, and I think because you abandon the fan base, that's where the anger comes from.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
no, and I mean, I'm sorry. No, you're right about that. No, you're right about that. That starts with Oakland. The point that I was making, that I was wanting to make by bringing that up, and what happened is, I hope that this team understands now. You're starting from scratch again. You basically start with a fan base. You're starting from scratch again. So when you get where you are, let's see what happens, because this is going to translate to Las Vegas.
Well, that becomes the interesting thing, because I think what Major League Baseball is hoping for is that the summer tourism business that Vegas creates, especially on the Strip, that is what's going to go to the ballpark to go see this baseball team play.
Because, John, this is my feelings. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it's a hell of a gamble to take, not with a football team, but with a baseball team.
Because there's more home games.
Right.
Yeah.
And Vegas is literally telling America that, well, what we're trying to attempt to do here is turn Las Vegas into a baseball city.
And
Right.
that's all well and good, but you've also, like I say, you've got a tourism business that's really going to do everything it possibly can to take advantage of this. And the hotels that are on the strip are going to basically do the same thing. Because if the tourism business is not interested in the baseball team, then you got a problem.
That's going to be a big problem.
For football and hockey, I think it can work for baseball too.
Well, I
And-
think the thing with football is you're only talking about one weekend, what, 9 times, 10 times. Hockey, I think, has taken advantage of the strip, and it's worked for them. Now let's see if
Yeah.
baseball can do the same thing.
Yeah, I got to give it to the NHL because you
Yeah.
can compare that to this because I mean a hockey town, Las Vegas.
Yeah, I would never consider Las Vegas to be a hockey town. No, I would
Oh,
never
no, of course not.
make that connection.
And it has worked out pretty
Now,
damn
I'll say
well.
this about Las Vegas, they've also been smart enough that they have brought college hockey into that area as well with some in-season tournaments that they've run there to try and really create the impression that they're interested in not only the fall sports, but the winter ones as well, which eventually lead into the summer.
At first look, if you take a peek at the overall plan from Las Vegas and what they've been doing to bring the NFL, to bring the NHL, now to bring MLB, obviously they had to sit down and really think about all this stuff, some of the stuff we're talking about right now. You know, fans, how are you going to draw them? It's hockey. And I think now that I think about it a little more, if you look at the success of the hockey team, well, they won a Stanley Cup.
That helps.
Yeah, it helps a whole lot. And I would say, yeah, Las Vegas has got to look at it like, look, we turned Vegas into a hockey town. How can we not turn it into a baseball town?
Yeah.
And the hope is that by the time the A's get to Vegas, that the franchise is in much better shape to be able to be successful. I mean, if they go to Vegas that first year with a really bad baseball team, I think it's going to turn a lot of people off right
No,
off.
no. And you're right. Another great point, John. You don't. It's not necessarily so much you have to hope for an 85, 90 win team, but you can't bring in right. But you can't bring in a 46 win baseball team because if you do,
You suck.
Right, and I think that's why these 2 years in Sacramento are very important because it's going to provide the A's with the opportunity to build that team.
yes,
So that when they're ready to go to Vegas, they've got a team that maybe it's not an instant winner, but at least it's better than what it's been.
nobody said that it's not interesting. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is In the Batter's Box. It is the NGSC Sports Baseball Show. I'm your host, Ralph Garcia, joined by, of course, Louis Tenor and John Doucette. The college baseball season, of course, is underway. A lot of fun happening. Major League Baseball is 3 days away from having swinging bats and flying balls. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said that way. But anyway, baseball. Wow. So we'll be back again, and we'll be, as always, keeping you guys up, talking baseball with you guys. I don't know if I'm going to be back soon with the political show. We'll see what's going on. Thank you for joining us today, and everybody have a great night. And as always,